Alright, everyone. We are going to talk today about some new findings I had about the universe we live in, about God, about computers, about capabilities, and fate, luck, and just, I guess, how to live a good life, the American dream. Um, and yeah, how our country got founded, I guess, a little bit, and what it means. So you can see my screen, and the first thing I want to talk about is the hard consciousness problem. So the hard consciousness problem, right? We all know and not really love it, but it's basically, why are we conscious rather than not conscious, right? And Stephen Wolfram, who wrote Meta Mathematics and a bunch of stuff about cellular automata, he's a huge math guy, right? He made Wolfram Alpha and Mathematica. It's great software. A lot of businesses and schools use it. But anyways, he thinks the universe is like all possible programs, like all possible computer programs. Elon Musk thinks we're in a simulation. So, a lot of people have different ideas, and I think, Nick Bostrom, a bunch of those other physicists, they say it's likely that we're probably on the original universe or something, if there is a way, like if a universe could ever do it. So, what I'm here to do is, I guess, clarify some of that, or at least give my thoughts on it. And I'm pretty firm on my beliefs and my opinions at the current moment, although everything's subject to change, right? So the hard consciousness problem is, why do we feel? Why is there qualia, right? Why do we feel pain? Why do we desire? Like anything. Why do we feel it all, right? And consciousness really isn't well understood, right? Like, we don't understand whether it's observation, discrimination, decision making, this, that. Like, what does it actually represent, right? I think, therefore I am. And there's a whole stuff about philosophical zombies, solipsism or whatever. But okay, so I'm gonna tell you what I think consciousness is. Consciousness is decision making. It is branch cutting the universe. What I mean by branch cutting is, if we look at like the double slit experiment, right? I mean, got the image up here. This is a decent image, I thought. Oh, this is about the eraser. This is great. So if we go forward, right? Wheeler's delayed choice, right? Marks the particle, and then it gets erased in the, like, this is the double slit. So this one just gets marked. No mark gets erased. And then if it's detected, particle. If it's not, wave, right? In terms of distribution. So it's essentially if there's a reason to not be random, right? There's something like distinguishing. It's not necessarily even looking, but just if something's distinguishing, some type of machine, whatever, distinguishing an outcome of some events, then they don't go in a superposition of possibilities. But if nothing really cares about it, right? Nothing relies on it, then the universe kind of, in my opinion, does an optimization. This is an optimization, in my opinion. The universe is like a computer, like Elon Musk said. Okay, so then we go on, like, the delayed choice makes it more complex. So instead of this, where it can't be unmarked, it gets marked by the detector, and then it gets unmarked. So I'll show you. I think this is the thought experiment. So you have some mirrors, you have some paths, and then there's a way to unmark it. Yeah, something over here. Okay, and why would that work though? Like, if something gets marked and it's unmarked, according to the Copenhagen, right? Copenhagen interpretation, there's something called collapse, right? Or I believe that's Copenhagen. There's also Everett and a bunch of other ones. Yeah. Observations needed to collapse the wave function, right? So like when you look, they say it takes on a specific value. But I disagree. I disagree with the Copenhagen interpretation. Copenhagen is basically saying it's irreversible. Like, things get collapsed, and the particle went through this side, and then that information can't be erased. So like, how do you square the quantum eraser experiment, right? Delayed choice, with the Copenhagen? It doesn't work. So my interpretation is that the brain entangles itself. The detector entangles itself with the particle or whatever, and then maybe something else entangles itself, like an experimenter or some computer system, and then the experimenter entangles themselves with the computer system. So it's like entanglement all the way down, or all the way up, rather, to the experimenter, to the scientist. And then I believe because the scientist has a need for that information, they're distinguishing, they're making decisions based off of it. Now it can't be in a superposition anymore. But if the scientist isn't distinguishing off of it, meaning like anywhere along the chain, this distinguishment's lost, right? That distinguishment, that discernment, like has to be kept all the way from when the kind of branch cut happened, like the possibility was is asked for. Like what possibility happened? That's essentially what's being asked for by the scientist. So it goes, in my opinion, it goes retrocausally. So there's Wheeler's emission. What is it called? Yeah, Wheeler's Feynman absorber theory, which is that it's like backwards. It's like retrograde. Because in my opinion, like how could the universe do an optimization if it's going forwards? Like it has to be observer backwards. Like observer is asking for something, and then okay, how specific are they asking for that information, and then how specific does the universe have to use axiom of choice, which is a way to pick a random thing from a set of infinite possibilities. It doesn't always have to be infinite, right? For the slits, it could be the left side or it could be the right side, right? But like for some experiments, there'd be like 10 possibilities, or maybe like it's kind of like it's the position or the angle or something, and that's more like infinite, right? Because you can go pretty fine in terms of like micrometer, angstrom, whatever, right? So there's a lot of possibilities with something that's like, oh, check its rotation amount, right? So in any case, it seems to me that the universe is doing some type of optimization. That's why this quantum stuff is happening. In addition, like we do live in a supercomputer. I mean, if you just look at the numbers, right? Planck's law, right, equals hf. It's basically showing us that Planck's constant's 10 to the negative 34, I think. So you get like, if we could unlock all energy, we get 10 to the 34 hertz. Like our CPUs now have 10 to the 9th. They have a gigahertz. And yeah, we say our supercomputers are faster, right? And we have those GPU superclusters for AI, but like that's a lot. 10 with 34 zeros. And then you have Bremerman limit, right? Which is for a kilogram of matter, and it's 10 to the 50th. Like holy Christmas, 50 zeros on that. That's a very powerful computer. So yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like science is has a ways to go. We're still on solar and oil and a lot of these things that don't extract as much energy as we can. But that's kind of why I want to talk a little bit about like physics and luck and determinism. So if we go back to the delayed choice and all this, like I said, what is consciousness? The hard problem. I believe it's the ability to make a decision. That means that essentially, why are we conscious? Well, something else is making a decision off of us. Yeah. I know. It's like, well, then what? God, the sun, the black hole at the center of the galaxy. Like, who knows? Who's the, like, what's the thing, like, keeping this thing, like, keeping it going in a sense, like, giving us all identity. And that's beyond me. Don't ask me. But nonetheless, the decision making, that is consciousness. Like that's why it's hard to make decisions. It takes effort, right? It's like you gotta think, you gotta like take a distinction, right? You gotta say, okay, this or that. And that's probably one of the hardest things a person does is make a decision. And that's actually the hardest part every machine makes. Even a refrigerator or a car or whatever. There's like, think about it. How does anything get directed, right? How does any energy get directed? There's decisions made by people, by animals, by cars, by like robots, by AI, by programs, like code that programmers wrote, like machines in factories, whatever the system may be, right? It's a machine, a computer, a mechanical thing, a chemical like reaction, but it's all just like energy, computing at those crazy large numbers we talked about. So some folks will view the consciousness as the random choice is being made, a random choice, which is kind of a super determinism. It's like, well, I'm not making a choice. It's a choice made for me. I just observe it. That's kind of, in my opinion, I used to think that was a Buddhist view. I don't view that. I don't look at it that way anymore. So look, the Buddhist view, right, of that everything, we're observing the decisions made by God, right? We don't have a say. Like, I think it's very disempowering, that view. At least it did for me. Maybe that works for some people, right? Maybe it calms them down that, like, the decisions aren't on them. To me, it makes me actually more antsy, because it's like, I still got to make the decisions, man. Like, you're not fooling anyone. That's it, So, but it's kind of like the neural networks. You have the, degenerative adversarial networks. You have a generator that generates stuff, and a discriminator network that tries to tell if it's bullshit. And they both get better and better and better. And then after a while, you can look it up, like thispicturedoesnotexist.com, right? Was it this person does not exist.com, right? And look, there's a person that doesn't exist, but there's a weird blob on the side. You see? These things are not perfect. So, anyways, generation would be like us making decisions, right? That's a way to view consciousness, like it's the generator of decisions. And then discrimination would be like a Buddhist view. So I take a more like Christian view, which is that no, we're given agency by God, given will by God, by the universe. Call it what you will, God, this, that. It's, my Lord, right? The cosmic creator, energy, the Tao. We can give it all these different names. Words don't explain what this whole thing is, right? So that's in my opinion, it kind of answer to the consciousness problem. You can just direct it directly, like you can correlate directly to the quantum eraser. Why is consciousness a thing? And because it's hard, it has to be done. Like the universe can't be ran without consciousness, and consciousness is all energy. So all things are conscious. All things make decisions or watch their decisions, in a sense, made by God. And it's just semantical whether the entity exacts like karma and retribution and agency, or the retribution is exacted by God, right? One can look at it as like God's making all these decisions for all the creatures in perfect alignment, and thus God's karma is really, really, really complex and diabolical in a sense. God's karma is such a chess thing that no mere human can see all the ways in which things are arranged in payback, consequence, cause and effect, and it all bounces back. So like the universe is unitary. So quantum physics, all of physics, essentially shows that the universe does not lose information, except maybe black holes. Maybe. Stephen Hawking kind of proved that that's not the case, but now new studies say it might be that. In my opinion, there's no information lost. Although, look, I don't know everything. We find more every day, right? And science is still like, well, Stephen Hawking proved that information is not lost. Einstein had thought maybe it could get lost and, was kind of boggled over it. So maybe someone will prove that it can get lost again, right? That's how science works. So right now, we think it doesn't get lost. And if it doesn't get lost, then even the pain of Jesus, right? That pain went out into the universe. It went out. The decisions, right? To suffer, like the suffering is a decision. Suffering, yes, it's not necessarily a consensual decision, but nonetheless, it's still agency, right? It's still agency to feel, to suffer, to feel, to experience pain, to experience joy, all that, anything. So just Jesus' experience, forget that it's specifically suffering, but the experience, the thoughts, everything, echoed, not even his neocortex, but his whole body. So that's the thing, is everything's a machine. Mechanical, chemical, just anything. It doesn't matter. We put distinctions on this crap. But it's essentially just like space-time, evolving, things moving, right? Energy flowing. And the truth of the matter is that there is no randomness, that we are given agency by this cosmic creator, and that there is karma. And karma is it's sophisticated in the way God exacts it, depending on how diabolical it needs to be. But But in our own lives, it's pretty easy to see sometimes. You know? It's like something, let's say you're doing some task, right? And it's just getting really, really, like you used to do it, right? But now it's like the task is like there's all this friction in it, right? Like you're washing and like the brush breaks, and like you're doing something else, and like you know it slips, and then you need to pick up the pick up whatever, and then you know that falls, and you start wondering like, well, you know, should I be doing this? That's the thing, is most of us don't think, should I really be doing this, right? Or am I doing this thing the wrong way? But it's like that's the thing, is like the reward systems of our brain, the way our brains work, the way minds work, the way just this universe works, the way a computer works, a machine, is essentially, you know, essentially there's an incentivization, and unless there's like signs, you know, given, you know, in a causal way, or not even a causal, I'd say mysterious, yeah, in a mysterious way, then someone may not get the true understanding that everything comes back. Everything comes full circle. Yeah. Yeah. It's like if you cut necks, then your neck will be cut. And if you know, experiment on people, then you'll be experimented on. Or if not, your family will be. Yeah, you know, it's weird like that, right? It's like God is generational. The universe is generational. It keeps count of everything. So it's like everything we care about, everything we hold dear, etc. And if we screw with karma, right? We screw with the physics, it bounces back. It bounces back so hard that when it finally hits you, right? Because you keep doing the same thing and it gets harder, and you don't realize like all these random kind of blips and kind of stresses, like, this thing broke again, right? And you got to order a new one. If you just don't break out of that loop and realize, all these bad things happen is actually because I'm like not aligned with the universe, not aligned with like karmic physics. Yeah, physics is just karma. That's it. It's just a relationship with the universe, right? With the big daddy or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that's it. That's it in a nutshell. That's all I got to say tonight. More will come out, you know, and I hope everyone has a good night, and love to hear what you all have to think. None of this is, you know, denominational in any way. Like I said, you know, there's just one God, one nation under God, right? You know, America, right? Freedom. Like, let freedom ring, right? God bless America. Alright, guys? Alright. Let's just do one thing before I go, since I had it ready. Random sentence generator. Like I told you, I'm going to refresh it, but like, nothing's random. Let's do it. Nothing's random. When I cook spaghetti, I like to boil a few minutes past al dente so the noodles are super slippery. Ain't that something? Alright, guys. Peace out.